everybody, welcome to lecture number 5, Relationships and New Media. Our learning objectives for this lesson is to discuss the relationship between new media and our ability to relate to others as well as to ourselves. We will also identify positive and negative impacts of new media on our personal relationships. So think about some ways that new media have changed the way you think about yourself and the way you think about and interact in your relationships. Have you ever given your Facebook page a thorough analysis and some editing before you send or accept a friend request, just to make sure that your content is giving off the desired impression? The technological changes of the past 20 years have affected you and your relationships, whether you are heavy users of social media or not. Even people who don't engage with technology as much as others are still affected by it. And that happens mainly because the people they do interact with use media and are affected by it to varying degrees. The way we become conscious of self-presentation when using new media, social networking sites in particular, may lead to an increase in self-consciousness. Communication plays an important role in helping us meet our identity needs. The things we like on Facebook, the pictures we're tagged in, and the news stories or jokes that we share on our timeline all come together to create a database of information that new and old friends can access to form and reinform impressions of us. So these things are basically our public face in a way. Because we know that others are making impressions based on this database of information, and because we have control over most of what happens in this database, people may become over-focused on crafting their online presence to the point that they neglect their offline relationships. This extra level of self-consciousness has also manifested in an increase in self-image and self-esteem issues for some users. For example, some cosmetic surgeons have noted an increase in patients who come to have facial surgeries or procedures specifically because they don't like the way their chin looks on the webcam while chatting on Skype, or because they feel self-conscious about the way they look in digital pictures that are passed around and stored on new media. Many patients come expecting their doctors to make them look like they look in their filters that they put on their images and things like that. Since new media are increasingly used in professional capacities, some people are also seeking these kinds of cosmetic procedures as a way of investing in their personal brand, or as a way of giving them an edge in a very tight job market. The personal and social nature of new media also creates an openness that isn't necessarily part of our online social reality. So although some people try to address this problem by creating more than one Facebook account, according to the terms of use that we all agreed to when joining Facebook, we are not really allowed to create more than one personal profile. But many people do. People have difficulty managing different communities, especially if they develop a dependence or even addiction to new media devices or platforms. New media blur the lines between personal and professional, which can both be positive and negative. For example, the constant connection that's offered by our laptops and smartphone increases the expectation that people will continue working from home or while on vacation. At the same time though, people may use new media for non-work related purposes while sitting in their office at work, which even though it may not seem like it's a good thing for their employers, it can help even out that work-life balance. Another thing that tends to happen in this environment is this occurrence of cyber slacking. Cyber slacking is the non-work related use of new media while on job. And this is seen as something that's problematic for many organizations and workplaces. But some research shows that occasional use of new media for personal reasons while at work can have positive effects, as it can relieve boredom, help reduce stress, or lead to greater job satisfaction. So in the past, I used to be very strict about the use of social media in my classroom, but I do understand that it's really hard to keep focus. Our classes are usually about 3 hours long, and so it helps your brain to sometimes take a mini break to just kind of separate yourself from the room, take a little mental survey of what's happening on the social media, and then in some situation, at least in my experiences, that can help you kind of get that attention back and ease the following of the lesson. So if for any reason you feel that while you're listening to these online lectures that your mind is drifting away, fantastic thing about online lessons is that you can pause it and just do whatever you need to do and then come back to it when you're ready. So I would advise all of you to do that when you feel that you're getting tired or that you're not really listening. Pause this and go get a snack or take some kind of break. Okay, moving on. Personal media bring with them a sense of constant connectivity that makes us reachable nearly at all times. This in turn can on one hand be comforting, but it can also be anxiety inducing for some people. Devices like smartphones and computers and platforms like Facebook or other platforms on the web are within arm's reach. They're very accessible to everyone. So yes, this is convenient and it makes things more efficient in some cases, but at the same time it can create dependence that we not even be aware of until those connections are broken or until they become unreliable. So for example, for me, if I go to a hotel somewhere and they don't have Wi-Fi, it makes me feel really uncomfortable. I don't know about you, but it really throws me off. Or if I'm traveling somewhere and my phone just stops working and I don't have a charger, that also makes me feel uncomfortable, and it causes anxiety, even though I don't consider myself addicted per se to social media. But you don't have to look far to see people around us who are buried in their smartphones, tablets, or laptops. Although some have learned to rely on their peripheral vision to text and walk, others aren't so graceful. And in this link that I will post on your Blackboard, you can see information about this street in London that's basically a text-safe street. And this street has padding on street signs and lampposts to help people prevent injuries when they bump into each other while engrossed with their cell phones. Of course, social media, like I said, can be extremely beneficial to us. It can increase self-esteem or have other social benefits. So it doesn't always have to be making us self-conscious to the point where we all want to get a plastic surgery. A recent survey of 15,000 women found that 48% of respondents felt that social media helped them stay in touch with others while adding a little stress in terms of overstimulation. 42% didn't mention the stress of overstimulation and focused more on the positive effects of being in touch with others and the world in general. And when asked about how social media affects their social lives, 30% of the women in this study felt that increased use of social media helped them become more social offline as well. And other research supports this finding for both genders, finding that Facebook can help people with social anxiety feel more comfortable, confident, and more socially connected. How do new media affect our interpersonal relationships, if they do? This is a question that has been addressed by scholars, commentators, and people in general, especially journalists. To give you some perspective on this question, this is not a question that's unusual. Similar questions and concerns have been raised along with each major change in communication technology. So when radios first showed up, this was something that was asked. How does this change how we communicate to each other? How does it change us as a society? Same thing happened with the invention of television, VCR, and other communication technology. However, new media have been the primary communication change of the past few generations, and that probably explains the attention they receive. Some scholars in sociology have highlighted negative effects of new technology on society and relationships in particular, saying that the quality of relationships is deteriorating and that the strength of connections is weakening. Facebook also has influenced our use of the word friend, although people's conceptions of the word may not have changed as much. When someone friends you on Facebook, it doesn't automatically mean that you now have the closeness or intimacy that you have with some of your offline friends. And research shows that people don't regularly accept friend requests from people that they haven't met, preferring to have first met a person at least once. And that's something that I've mentioned to you. That's something that I do. That's one of my rules. So I don't really accept people as friends unless I've met them in real life. Some users, though, think differently. They engage in what is called friend collecting behavior, which basically means using befriending of people that they know personally or that they wouldn't talk to in person in order to increase the size of their online network. As we'll discuss later, this could be an impression management strategy, as the user can assume that a larger number of Facebook friends will make him or her appear more popular to others. Although many have critiqued the watering down of the term friend when applied to social networking sites, specifically Facebook, some scholars have explored how the creation of these networks affects our personal relationships and even restructures how we think about our relationships. Even though a person may have hundreds of Facebook friends that he or she doesn't regularly interact with on or offline, just knowing that the network exists in some kind of tangible form, and that is knowing that it's cataloged on Facebook, can be comforting. Even the people who are distant acquaintances but who are friends on Facebook can serve important functions. So rather than Facebook users seeing these connections as pointless, frivolous, or stressful, they are often comforting background presences. A dormant network is a network of people with whom users may not feel obliged to explicitly interact, but they can find some kind of comfort in knowing that these connections do exist. And these networks can be beneficial because when needed, a person can easily tap into that network and make it active. It's almost like being friends on Facebook keeps the communication line open because both people can view the other person's profile and keep up with their lives, even if they don't talk on a regular basis. So this in turn it sustains friendships. This is something that we spoke about before. It sustains past friendships and prevents them from fading away, which is common occurrence as we go through various stages of life. A key part of interpersonal communication is impression management, and some forms of new media allow us more tools for presenting ourselves than others. Social networking sites in many ways are platforms for self-presentation. Even more than blogs or web pages, the environment of social networking sites like Facebook or Twitter or WeChat facilitates self-disclosure in a directed way and allows others who have access to our profile to see our other friends or see their comments on our page. This kind of convergence of different groups of people, which can include close friends, family, colleagues, and strangers, is a bit of a challenge for self-presentation. So we mentioned before that social networking sites have caused the context collapse, which is this idea that we basically now present ourselves the same way to all of these groups who have nothing in common. So all of us present ourselves differently depending on who we are interacting with. So we behave differently in front of our grandmother than we would with our close friends, or how we would behave with our church group. And we put on different face for all of them. And social media has caused this to collapse, and basically we put this information on our social networking sites, and this is equally visible to all of these different groups. Although Facebook was in the past thought of as a social media outlet for teens and young adults, research shows that half of all US adults have a profile on Facebook or another social networking sites. So for people in our classroom, it's likely that you use other social networking sites because you don't really want to be on the same platform as your grandparents or your parents. So increasingly young people are moving away from Facebook and using more frequently other sites. The growing diversity of social media networks also creates new challenges as we try to engage in some kind of impression management. And part of the strategy with dealing with this impression management is basically to abandon these sites that include all of the people that we may know in offline life, but with which we prefer not to communicate in online environments. We should be aware that people form impressions of us based not just on what we post on our profiles, but also on our friends and the content that they post on our profiles. In short, just like in our offline lives, we are judged online by the company that we keep. The difference is, though, that in Facebook, a person can see our entire social network and friends, which doesn't really happen offline that much. The information on our Facebook profile is also archived, meaning there is a record of likes, which doesn't exist in offline interactions. Recent research found that a person's perception of a profile's owner's attractiveness is influenced by the attractiveness of the friends shown on the profile. In short, a profile owner is judged more physically attractive when his or her friends are judged as physically attractive, and vice versa. The profile owner is also judged as more socially attractive, meaning more likable or friendly, when his or her friends are judged as physically attractive. The study also found that complimentary and friendly statements made about profile owners on their wall or on profile comments increased perception of the profile owner's social attractiveness and credibility. And interesting but not surprising, gender double standards also emerged. When statements containing sexual remarks or references to the profile owner's excessive drinking were posted on the profile, perceptions of attractiveness increased if the profile owner was male and decreased if the owner was female. Self-disclosure is a fundamental building block of interpersonal relationships, and new media makes self-disclosure easier for many people because of the lack of intimacy. This means that the fact that a message is sent through electronic means arouses less anxiety or inhibition than it would in a face-to-face exchange. Social networking sites, hence, provide opportunities for social support. Research has found that Facebook communication behaviors, such as friending someone or responding to a request posted on someone's wall, lead people to feel a sense of attachment and perceive that others are reliable and helpful. Much of the research on Facebook, though, has focused on the less intimate alliances that we maintain through social media. Since most people maintain offline contact with their close friends and family, Facebook is more of a supplement to interpersonal communication. Most people's Facebook friend networks are composed primarily of people with whom they have less face-to-face contact in their daily lives. So Facebook provides an alternative space for interaction that can more easily fit into a person's busy schedule or interest area. For example, to stay connected, both people don't have to look at each other's profiles simultaneously. When I look at people's profile, I either get information about them through newsfeed, or if I haven't heard from them in a while, I might go onto their page and just browse through everything that they have posted recently, rather than regularly being updated about what they do. The space provided by social networking sites can also help reduce some of the stress we feel in regards to relational maintenance or staying in touch by allowing for more convenient contact. The expectation for regular contact with our Facebook friends who are in our extended network are minimal. Occasional comment or a photo or status update or even like button can help maintain those relationships. However, when we post something asking for information, help, social support, or advice, those in the extended network may play a more important role, and this allows us to access resources and viewpoints beyond those in our closest circles. And research shows that many people ask for information help through their status updates. These extended networks serve important purposes, one of which is to provide access to new information and different perspectives than those we may get from close friends and family. For example, since we tend to have significant others that are more similar to than different from us, people that we are closest to are likely to share many of our beliefs, attitudes, and values. Extended contacts, on the other hand, may expose us to different political views or new sources of information, which can help broaden our perspectives. The content in this section hopefully captures what I'm sure you have already experienced in your own engagement with new media, that new media have important implications on our interpersonal relationships. Okay, these are the exercises you have to complete. Email me 2 or 3 paragraphs answering the following questions. Discuss the notion that social media has increased our degree of self-consciousness. Do you agree? Why or why not? Second question, do you find the constant connectivity that comes with personal media overstimulating or comforting? And 3, have you noticed a graying of social media like Facebook and Twitter in your own networks? What opportunities and challenges are presented by intergenerational interactions on social media? Okay, that's all for today. Thank you for your attention. Please email me if you have any questions or comments.